Get strong.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a fish that, for whatever reason, does not always get the same attention as some of the more flashy New World cichlids. But I honestly believe he or she, whichever version you have, deserves way more respect. We're looking at the chocolate cichlid. If you like big cichlids with personality, cichlids with a more natural look, a fish that can really become, like a centerpiece fish, this might be the fish for you. You know what I'm saying? In this video, I'm going to go over what the chocolate cichlid is, how big they get, what their attitude is like, the tank size you need, diet, what fish are good tank mates, and whether this is a fish that you might feel is worth keeping. So first off, chocolate cichlid is a chameleon. I mean, the colors, the morphs, he changes his colors a lot. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, they're also known to be a South American cichlid. They come from slower moving waters and flooded areas in the Amazon. What else? They, compared to a lot of aggressive cichlids, most chocolates are pretty mellow. I mean, they have a reputation for being pretty laid back for the size fish they are. One of the first things people should know is definitely don't get this fish if you don't have the space. They get big. I mean, they can reach 10, 12 inches easy. My chocolate cichlid got to be about 11 inches. Had him for a long time. It was definitely a girl. He never got that big nuchal hump on his head that some of the males do develop. Not as big as some other fish do, but you definitely can see a difference in the male head versus the female head. But because they get big and they get thick too, this is a thick, heavy fish, almost like an Oscar. I mean, they stand out in the tank. Now, they don't always have the brightest colors, but the body shape, the personality, and sometimes they just go flashy and they get this brilliant emerald green going on. Oh my God. Then be afraid. They sometimes can be the most beautiful thing in the tank with this subtle green, emerald green, and real. It's I'm gonna have to. Well, you see it for yourself. Now, attitude wise, this is where the chocolate cichlid can get a little interesting. I mean, by most standards, because of their size, they're fairly peaceful in my opinion. Now, they are a cichlid, so peaceful is relative, right? They still, if it can fit in their mouth, they still will get down. They can be territorial. You know, he has his times when she, I keep saying he, but she had her times when she, would get very, very defensive. This is a fish that can get very defensive when they want to, just like any cichlid. They'll stake out of territory sometimes. Now, compared to fish like jaguars, red devils, even Oscars, they're a little, well, I won't say Oscars, but definitely jaguars and red devils. They can be a lot more aggressive. Same with green terras. The chocolate cichlid really is a lot more laid back in the tank, and it opens you up to a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, and smart. He knew it when it was feeding time. He see me, he come moseying out. He's not a fast moving cichlid. He would just come. She would just come, just moseying over like, hey, I know you about to feed me, right? And they didn't bulldoze. They weren't really the bulldozer like you see in some other big cichlids that just push everybody around. And definitely you can see some intelligence. That joker knew who I was. Now, with that said, you can always get a jerk of a fish, no matter what species it is. I've seen doggone angels that can be jerks. And I'm not talking about breeding angels, just a regular angel. I lucked out and had a very calm chocolate cichlid. And not that he was just not bother anybody. He'd do a little chasing, but he really didn't attack people. He kind of just would remind people, I'm the biggest in this tank. Now, I wouldn't put a chocolate in anything less than a 75. And that's to me the bare minimum. And I think an adult really should be in a 90 gallon or 125. And if you got bigger than that, definitely. I have some 75s. I never put him in a 75. I typically, the only time he was ever in a smaller tank was like when I would medicate him. Maybe he had something going on and I needed to put him in a hospital tank. Other than that, always stayed in a 125. They're really good around, dither fish. I mean, you can put some smaller fish in there. You can get away with, keeping some electric blues in there. They're good with severums. They're good. They're good with a wide range of fish. And they can hold their own. So don't be afraid to put them with like an Oscar if you want to. But they definitely don't have the personality of some of the more aggressive fish. They do need some room. Like I said, they thick. They can get, 10 to 12 inches. So they need some swimming room. This is why I don't think a 4-foot tank really does it. A 90 at least is wide and tall, but I really think they need the swimming room. They need at least a 6-foot tank, in my opinion. Water quality, he's not very picky. I never saw him react to any poor water quality. Sometimes nitrates get up there, you test, you're like, whoa, and you got to do a water change or whatever, but you won't know it from him. So water quality, they are pretty hardy fish. But let's be clear, they are good size fish, so a lot of waste. So you need some good filtration. You need to have enough filtration on this tank. I can't stress that enough, especially if you're going to be keeping other fish with them. One thing I often see is people get big fish and they don't have good filtration. You need a lot of filtration. As far as food, they're not picky eaters. Just about any cichlid food, especially pellets. I don't do live foods at all if I can help it, but pellets, they love pellets. You can mix some frozen foods in, krill, mysis shrimp, bloodworms. Just everything you would feed any other cichlid. He did like vegetables. I would drop some veggies in there. Love the peas, and would nibble almost any veggie I put in there. And I would try to mix and match. I'll put some veggie flakes in there along with some cichlid pellets. Now, tank mates, like I said before, he can have a lot of different tank mates, but you definitely want some moderately tempered and medium large fish. You don't want red devils. Even though he's big like a red devil, I would never put a red devil. They just don't match temperament wise. Like I said before, larger severums, geophagus go good. Silver dollars, peaceful catfish. I had mine in with a giraffe cat and they got along just fine. Like I said, electric blue acara. Now, I did have a small Ferrentosa in there. Nobody bothered the Ferrentosa. It was small, and the Ferrentosa didn't care about anybody else, and nobody cared about him. So, I break rules, though. Now, he's not a killer. Chocolate cichlids are definitely not on that kill list as far as going after, but they do got a big mouth. So, if you put something in there small and it go missing, they could be the culprit. And they'll just sit there looking like, I don't bother nobody, with a full belly. And like I said, any fish can be a jerk. The best thing about a chocolate is it gives you that option. It gives you that ability to have a big cichlid without having to have all that experience, without bringing all the nonstop chaos that comes with other large species. It has the size that you might be wanting. It has the presence, the personality, and quite often a much better balanced temperament. You know what I mean? That makes it a really appealing fish for people who want a showcase fish, but do not necessarily want a tank full of constant aggression. Now, is the chocolate cichlid good fish for beginners? I'm not gonna say they are bad fish for beginners, but I don't think they're totally for beginners, mainly because of the size and the long-term tank requirements. You're going to need at least a 6-foot tank, and not a lot of people starting out in the hobby start out with 6-foot tanks. But if you already understand a little bit about cichlids, maybe you've had a few before, and maybe you got good water change habits, maybe you got some good filtration, maybe you got the right fish that would go compatibly with chocolate cichlids, then you can try it. But just keep a lot of the things that I mentioned before in mind. But overall, I'd love to know in the comments what you think about the chocolate cichlid. I think it's an underrated fish. It may not have been one of those flashy fish that most people are drawn to, but it has a more natural beauty. I think it has a great personality. I think it has a calm demeanor. I think that makes it stand out to me. If you've ever kept chocolate cichlids, like I said, let me know in the comments what your experience has been with them. Were they peaceful? Did you get one that was kind of crazy? I've had some Severums that could be woo. So let me know. If you enjoyed the species profile, hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what fish you would like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.
Get strong. Get strong.